You're listening to XSGaming Podcast, a podcast for gamers by gamers, with your hosts Xander Skullion and James Gushes, bringing you something old, something new, and a little bit of nostalgia too.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whichever time you guys are checking us out, and welcome back to another episode of XSGaming Podcast. We're recording this on the 22nd of July. I'm one of your hosts, Xander Skullion, and join with me is a wonderful co-host, Mr. James Gushes. What's up, James?
Hello, everybody out there. Greetings and salutations. I hope you are well on this lovely July day as summer is slowly fading away in a bit. It'll be over before we know it, thankfully. And that's pretty awesome. So I hope you all are doing well.
Yeah, isn't it hard to believe that 2018 is halfway over?
Yeah. I mean, the time, man, you know, time just flies. Even between, like, our episodes, you know, we usually try to do 2 weeks. Sometimes it's more. And, you know, sometimes it just feels like it was just the other day. I know there's a couple things in August. You know, of course, I'm waiting for Fire Pro World, which comes out on August 28th, which I'm really excited about. You know, wrestling games, we don't get as many nowadays. We always get the 2K series, which, you know, it's okay. But, I mean, man, I love Fire Pro. I still had the most fun playing it, you know, the older PS2 version out of, you know, all the newer games. I mean, that's just going to be awesome. I'm just actually, like, really excited about that one. So it's creeping up just about another month.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? Like, August, man, we're getting some good games. I mean, we got Yakuza Kiwami 2, the Shenmue remaster of 1 and 2, and Fire Pro Wrestling, like, all in the same month. That's freaking amazing. I'm really stoked about that.
Yeah, definitely some big titles, you know, for us, of some series we love, and, you know, who knows what else will pop up. I'm sure there's a bunch of other stuff, too. It's just going to be, you know, really cool as it creeps on up, even, you know, getting closer to the holidays, and we'll see even more stuff. So it's probably going to be a pretty cool time, you know, in gaming as the year goes on.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, I mean, I know, you know, I had the channel, the YouTube channel, I do the podcast, but even saying that, it's hard for me to keep track of all the games that are coming out. And, I mean, there's certain ones that are coming out that I'm like, all right, I got to keep my eye on that one. And then there's some that just come out of nowhere, and I'm like, holy crap, I forgot all about that game. You know, it was like the other day I was thinking about Monster Boy. The new Monster Boy comes out in September. I forgot all about it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's right. Monster Boy comes out in September, as well as Spider-Man, which...
oh, man.
Yeah.
That'll be a big. Yeah, it's another big title right there.
It is a big title, and you know we got shown some actual gameplay trailer footage at San Diego Comic-Con, and they also revealed the special edition PS4 Spider-Man console. And you know, I will say this: I'm not a big fan of it. It looks very basic. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It's not a terrible looking consoleized paint job, but it's, you know, it's red. It's got Spider-Man on the top of it. The controller's red. And I mean, that's pretty much it. I was like, man, you guys could have done a little bit of blue, a little bit of webbing. I mean...
Yeah, webbing, I think, would have been a really nice look. I get it. Red is, you know, even something with, like, red and blue. Of course, you know, with the classic Spider-Man look, or, you know, just something, like I said, with the webbing. A lot of things they could have done. I actually just saw it a moment ago, and I was like, oh, man. I'm like... Yeah, it does look kind of cool. I've never really gotten any, you know, specialized consoles like that myself, because typically I've already got the console, and, you know, it'd really take, like, a lot, you know, even a Yakuza console over here would be kind of pushing it. Like, I don't even know. Like, I probably wouldn't even still get that just because it's a big investment. But, I mean, hell, if you like Spider-Man and you don't have a PS4 yet, I mean, I'd definitely say pick it up.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure it will most definitely come with the game, at least a digital download of it. I mean, it should. It should. I mean, but we never know, like, how special editions are. Like the Red Dead Redemption 2 comes with all the bells and whistles, but doesn't come with the game. So I mean,
that's just a bit much, man.
Yeah,
I mean, you
so
know,
weird.
a lot of us are embracing, digital more and more as it just becomes like a factor. But I'm sorry, dude, when you got like a, $100 up to $200 special edition, like you got to have the game, man. Like
yeah.
even
just like
be there.
Even if it's digital, it's got to be there. I mean, the whole point of buying that special edition is to have the game ultimately, and everything else is just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. That's like when I got the Sonic Mania special edition last year. I mean, a lot of people were giving me flack because they're like, oh, it doesn't come with the physical copy, it only comes with a digital copy. I'm like, yeah, but I'm getting this like cool Sonic statue on the Sega Genesis, an actual like cartridge, this little ring, and I was like, to me, I felt like I was buying the game digitally, and I was getting all that stuff secondary that I would have wanted to get anyway. So, yeah.
It's just a nice little package, So,
yes. Speaking of special editions too, also revealed at San Diego Comic-Con was the Resident Evil 2 special edition, and I posted it on Facebook, and I got some mixed reactions to it. I'm thinking about getting it. I'm thinking about it. I didn't know that there was also a deluxe edition. There's a deluxe edition and special edition. I wasn't aware of the deluxe, but I might gravitate more to that because this is a $200 investment, and it comes in like this big case. It comes with a Leon statue, a map of the Raccoon City Police Department, the original and redone soundtrack, an art book, a bunch of really, really cool stuff. And I was like, man, it's like $200. I remember someone was telling me, they're like, man, that's too much money for me. And I'm like, well, it does come out in January. If you really break it down, you can put back about $35 a month. That's like $8.75 a week. And I was like, and you can get it.
I saw that. I liked your math on that because it's definitely. I never criticize anybody, for getting something like that because it's everybody's own money. And if it's something you're into, by all means. Me personally, I would have I'm not a big Leon fan.
Yeah.
I probably would have preferred a different statue personally.
Like Liquor?
But other than that, Liquor would have been cool. I like Claire. I always like the chicks. And Resident Evil have always been my favorite characters. I do really like that big I don't know if that was part of the map or that poster that was talking about, the museum that's turning into, the police station, like a little poster map. That looked really cool. Definitely a nice setup. I mean, it's got a lot of stuff in it. I'm sure it's a really nice statue too. And like you said, with the math, just adding up, if it's something somebody wants, just put a little bit aside, here and there. Definitely excited just, for that game in general. Going to be, really great. It is awesome as the redo or remake of the first one was. I can only imagine this one in this day and age will probably be, even better. And I think well worth the wait, I'm sure. I want to see what that damn alligator looks like.
I know,
that'd
right?
Have been a good statue.
Oh, yeah.
Alligator statue.
Holy shit, yeah. Dude, that would have been great. I mean, you're probably the only person I know personally that loved the alligator as much as I did. Like that dude, when I was in the sewer and that alligator came out, I was like, whoa. It made me think of Resident Evil 1 when you're in the Umbrella Corporation. And you get attacked by the sharks.
What the fucking shark?
Yeah.
Man, because I'm a huge fan of, animal horror movies. Like Jaws. You definitely had some references from that. And I mean, the alligator in the sewer was a 1980s movie just called Alligator, which I highly recommend. Really great. And there's a sequel to it. Both of them are on YouTube. The sequel, actually, YouTube's the best place to see it because it's only on VHS, and the VHS is like $50 or $60. People probably think man, VHS and DVDs those aren't worth crap. No. Certain movies, especially in the horror community, they definitely keep it because they haven't been made on Blu-ray or anything. But Alligator 1 and 2 are really awesome movies. If you dig the alligator scene in Resident Evil 2, I definitely recommend because the alligator is in the sewer. Classic story: flushed down the toilet, mutates, even busts out from the street and eats a kid. It's it's tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember the sharks though in Resident Evil 1, and you would finish that puzzle and it would drain the water. And when you go back in there, you start hearing a bunch of bumping sounds, like boop, 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 and you walk around the corner and it's like the big shark just flapping on the ground.
Yeah, I had to kill it because I felt bad. Because what was it? Wasn't it like two? Was it two little ones and then a big one, or was it just two?
I think so. I mean, I remember the cutscene more than anything, and of course it flapping around. Because I remember it would show the cutscene. It was very Jaws-like. It would show like the shark in the water and show your feet, standing there. I remember that.
Just an amazing. Yeah, man, that was just so many classic moments. In those games, you gotta love the nods, which I'm sure were, to both of those movies, Jaws and Alligator. Somebody there was watching those, and just, I love that. Even the giant moths, snakes, lots of crazy mutant animals in those games. Mm-hmm. It's awesomely ridiculous.
And speaking of big animals, not really gaming related, but I'm a big Godzilla fan. But also at San Diego Comic-Con, they released the first official trailer of Godzilla King of Monsters, and I was kind of on the fence about this because it's not by Gerard Edwards, so the guy who directed the guy that directed the 2014 Godzilla, which I really liked. And it's like mixed bag with fans. Some people loved it, some people didn't like it. But this trailer, man, holy crap. We saw, of course, Godzilla. We saw Mothra, Rodan, Ghidorah. The girl that was from Stranger Things that played 11, she's in it. And it was just so much going on that I feel like I had to watch a trailer like 2 or 3 more times to kind of gather what was going on. But, dude, Ghidorah was so big that his wings caused tornadoes. That was freaking awesome.
Jeez. I'm as soon as we get done, I'm definitely going to check that out. I had heard something about Mothra. As a kid, I was a huge, me and my friends, I loved Mothra, and we always liked Rodan. On TBS, they used to play, like a video package where they'd have clips from Rodan.
I remember that.
They'd play Highway to the Danger Zone.
Yeah.
And then they'd play that. So really loved Rodan and Mothra. I mean, that's, I need to go back and watch the one from 2014. I never saw that. I've always been curious about it because I grew up watching those, too. And, classic Saturdays on TBS with, I'd watch wrestling and of course the animal horror movies, and Godzilla was off and on many times, which is how a lot of us saw those because there was so many. They could have a couple of them every weekend. And,
yeah, they'd have like a 3-hour block on TBS where they show like a bunch of Godzilla movies.
Yeah, it's like you just never sometimes weren't even really sure what it was. We didn't really have, you had a TV guide once in a while, but you didn't have like an on screen. You're just like, oh man, this is, I guess Godzilla versus Rodan. Like you never,
yeah.
I think the Mothra movie I saw was not, I don't know if it was actually the Mothra, but it was one of the other ones, they were all mixed in together. But I mean, it sounds really cool. It's good that they, have a trailer out, and it sounds really neat. So I'm definitely looking forward to checking that out. Sounds like it'd just be a really crazy, adding in all the monsters. I mean, tornadoes, man, that's insane.
Yeah. I mean, dude, hearing that you're a big Mothra fan, when you see the part where she spreads her wings, that's all I'm going to say, dude. That scene gave me goosebumps. I seriously, I got off work, and I was walking home, and my friend Amanda texted me, and she was like, the new trailer just dropped, and sent me the link. And I was on my way walking home. I actually turned to the parking lot, sat on the sidewalk, and I went underneath the tree because I knew I knew the trailer was going to be very dark. Because that's one thing I hate about some movies now. It's like so many movies are so dark, you can't see everything. So if you're outside watching on your phone, you got to get in the shade. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching it, and I saw the part with Mothra, and I was like, in the parking lot, got goosebumps instantly. I was like, holy shit, that is so cool.
That was one of the few when they started releasing the little metal boxes of all the Godzilla movies. Like Mothra was the one that I picked up. It's one of the, I have a couple in some collections, but Mothra was one of the few individual ones that I actually own just as a kid because I don't know, I like moths. They're cool.
Yeah. And plus they had I remember seeing all the kaiju figures at Edward McKay's. I remember seeing those a lot. Dude, those were always great to look at.
Those have been a little bit cheaper. It's just something about those, like Toys R Us. Even I remember them having a few there too, and they were always just a little bit over what I would have paid. I'd like to have a nice, really cool, smaller, affordable collection of them. Would just be great, to have, because they're all such, iconic monsters. So many of us, grew up with.
Exactly. Now, let's see. So, going back to gaming, I do have to mention a game that came out last Friday, and that is Octopath Traveler. Now, Octopath Traveler, it's a Square Enix JRPG, and it's exclusive to the Nintendo Switch. I think everyone that's listening knows about this game. But this game has been selling out so much that a physical copy right now it's hard to find. Square Enix had no idea this game was going to be as popular, I think. And right now it's like number 1 U.S. seller on the eShop. It's also number 1 in Japan, and I believe right now it's number 2 in Europe. Right now it's on its path to become the highest-selling third-party Switch game in the console's lifespan. A JRPG of all things, like that is freaking awesome. That is great.
Kind of like a throwback, the times when Super NES, was that system. Nintendo was the system for a lot of the big RPGs, and it's just kind of nice to think of them having one on there that's exclusive to them that people are really into. I've seen you and a friend Ryan. I've seen just lots of our friends playing it, and as much as I don't really play RPGs, I have the demo that I at least want to try. But I mean, even just the fanfare around this, that people love it, has even got me curious and kind of wanting to play it myself.
What's really interesting about it, I know usually we talk about games we've been playing towards the end, but I did want to talk about it because I've been playing it, is I like the fact that you choose what character you want to be, and then you finish that chapter, and then you start going through all the each character has 2 chapters, and it's really interesting how all 8 characters' stories kind of unfold. And I'm about 10, 11 hours into it, and a lot of people do compare it to a Super Nintendo game because of the sprite work. I'll be honest, though, the way this game, the way the graphics and the rendering of the backgrounds, it makes me think more of an actual PlayStation 1 RPG, because there's a lot of 3D polygon rendering that kind of mixes in with the 16-bit style graphics. I mean, it's a beautiful game. It's really good, and I haven't got to that moment where I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of bored right now, because I mean, the battle system's awesome. And once you get done with that one story, you're thrown into another story, and you don't know what it's going to be next. So it's pretty exciting. I like it. Definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I like that aspect. Like I said, with the different characters, it always gives you something, something new. When it switches off, like what do these people have going on, and how does it connect to this person and that? Yeah, definitely something I'm going to at least try that demo out, and probably just because it's becoming scarce, if I ever happen to see a physical one, I might just pick it up,
Yeah. And speaking of picking up, something really interesting on the Nintendo eShop that sprouted up on about 2 days ago. And that is an arcade game that's never been released from Nintendo called Sky Skipper. It's on the Nintendo eShop as part of the Arcade Archives. And I didn't know about this until about a couple of minutes ago, and I was looking at some of the gaming news and stuff, and it looks like what it says is Sky Skipper puts players in the role of a character named Mr. U. You must pilot a biplane around the stage and rescue members of King's family. The plane has fuel as it flies. The player must monitor their fuel gauge and avoid bomb-throwing gorillas while maneuvering around the stage. And it looks like it's going to be an $8 download. I might have to check this out. This looks kind of cool.
Yeah, but it's none of that same Arcade Archive series. All those are usually, $7.99, $8.
Yeah,
I'd heard about this one a little while back. Things like that I like, and it's one I have Punch Out. I don't have a whole lot of the, it would be cool to have if they did put it, here we go back in with the physical stuff, but if they, it'll be ongoing. But if they never made a collection, I'm so big on those. That's something I would definitely look into purchasing. But on the other side of that, just the fact that we have a lot of these, like the Arcade Punch Out, Arcade Mario Brothers, all these titles, that are popping up, and to have one, we've never seen or even heard of. it's really cool. It's kind of like part of that preservation.
Yeah.
It's really good to have these things out. So that's one I might check out. It sounds really interesting with the gorillas. You got to wonder, like, was this stemming off something from Donkey Kong inspired?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the screenshot, it looks very like Donkey Kong Rampage inspired. Like it's very simplistic. Like the graphics, of course, are very simplistic, but it looks like it would be a lot of fun. I mean, $8. I mean, and I've never played it before, so why not? Also, a couple of updates on Mario Kart 8. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe recently got a free update, a free Zelda Breath of the Wild DLC. And it looks like what it comes with is just, it covers Link. It makes him in his Breath of the Wild outfit, his little tunic, and also gives him the Epona motorcycle, which was a part of the Breath of the Wild DLC. And, I think it's kind of cool. I think it's kind of cool that we still have stuff like this coming out for Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, when you think it's a game, originally on the Wii U, that of course, not as many people played on that console, but the fact that we got it, it was already, bumped up from the start with, all the extras added in. And I think they've been really cool, with updates, just it's little things like this. It's still a hugely popular game. People love to play. The more stuff you can add on there, just little extras, costumes and such, it's just really awesome. And and they seem to really just kind of give this out, to the people just to enjoy. I've loved how they've continued to support it, along the way, and I expect, we'll still get that, until the next version comes out. But just anything like that, that just makes it, just gives a little something different, newer games, and they can say, hey, we'll give you this costume from this or that. I just think it's really awesome.
Yeah, someone's like congratulates the person for buying the game, because they could make it a DLC. They could have been like, oh, this is Breath of the Wild DLC, $5-6, here you go. But they're like, you know what, this is just a little something we want to do, a little update. And it's still one of the best-selling Switch games out there too. Like a lot of people missed out on Mario Kart 8, and they finally got to play it, and they're like, this is one of the best ones ever. And then the ones that had it on the Wii U was like, man, I got to get this because it's one of the best ones ever. It is one of the best Mario Karts. It's definitely in my top list.
Yeah, and they could have easily, like you said, charged something like $5 and still probably made a lot of money. But it's a nice show of goodwill to the fans and consumers to just put something like that out there, as a free. It's just really cool.
Indeed. Now, we're about to take our break, but before that, I did want to give kind of tribute on our music break that we have, because we did have some sad news show up on the 14th of July, and that is Hiroshi Yama. He's the illustrator and designer of games such as Shining Force and Golden Sun. He recently passed away. Not much more news has came out about that. His son reported it on Twitter, and causes are unknown. But man, it's one of those things like Shining Force, Golden Sun. Golden Sun to me is one of the most underrated JRPGs on the Game Boy Advance. It's a great game, and huge fan of the Shining Force series. Always really liked the art too. And if you haven't had a chance to play Shining Force, and you're hearing about this and you want to see some great art, definitely check out the Genesis collection. Just recently came out for the PS4 and Xbox One, because Shining Force is on that collection. So yeah, did you have anything you want to add to that, James?
I just want to say it's just something when you think about these, and sometimes like that's a name, I might not know personally, some other people might not, but there's so many of these games, and there's so many people that had a hand, in making these games iconic to us, whether it was music. How many times does even the music stand out more than sometimes a game? I'll constantly have certain, video game tunes just pop in my head. Whether it's artwork, there's just, so many people, it's always sad, for his family, but it's, it's really cool. He gave, so many people, something really cool he was able to contribute.
Indeed. So sit back, relax, guys. We're going to listen to some Shining Force 3 from the Sega Saturn. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about video game movies, talking about some of our favorites, some of our least favorites, some video game movies we would like to see in the future. It should be really interesting, guys, so we'll be right back. And we are back, guys. And yes, we were talking about some video game movies. And what inspired this was the recent upload on YouTube of the Uncharted movie. It was a fan-made 15-minute cinematic tribute featuring Nathan Fillion, who is the voice actor, and pretty much Nathan from Uncharted. he pretty much is. And this movie was just so freaking amazing. Have you seen this yet, James?
No, I haven't. I just heard about it the other day, and I was definitely wanting to check it out because it's something about these fan films that are short, and a lot of people, if you've seen some before, they can be amazing, and some people could discredit them and, just kind of blow them off, but you really need to check these out because there is a lot of love put into them, and I think we'll kind of see as we talk about some more of these movies of certain reasons of why these fan films would be, really great, and sometimes the big productions just don't live up to our expectations.
Yeah, because if you think about it, man, some of my personal favorite video game movies were fan films. I think you can agree that the Street Fighter fan series, that was really good. I never did watch season 2. I know they finally made season 2, but you remember that one? Came out a couple of years ago.
Let's see. Well, I know, was that the one that stemmed off? Because I know there was the Assassin's Fist, but then there was the Street Fighter Legacy and Resurrection.
Yeah.
With all the story with Akuma and Ken.
Yeah,
the Legacy, the sequel or the second season to it, really, it's really short. I want to say you're almost better off just not watching it because you really I don't know why not as many were made or it was so short because the first one I watched the movie version, Street Fighter Legacy, and it felt like 3 hours, and just really cool. I loved it because the characters looked like the characters in the game, which sometimes it does look a little bit cheesy, but you know what, it fits. Akuma looks like him with the big hair, and he kind of looks ridiculous, but it was so awesome. But yeah, the second season is it's very short, kind of left hanging. I really hope there's more of it because it's just so good. If you like Street Fighter, that's one of the things you really have got to watch that series.
Yeah, it was so good. And I'm going to ask you, James, what is your favorite video game movie?
I mean, I really have to say, of course, it's Yakuza, which a lot of people, I've talked about it here on the show. It's called Like a Dragon. Takashi Miike directed it, who he's done quite a few just other kind of Yakuza and semi-horror movies like Ichi the Killer. Pretty prolific director. And this movie came out, it's based on the first game. And it does follow that, and it's got a couple of extra kind of like sub-stories that you would run into in the game, but they're not in the game. They're only for the movie, but they're still all very interesting. And it has just enough of things from the games, like drinking the energy drink, and he'll get this glow around him when he gets powered up. And yet, it all works. It still has this seriousness mixed in with that little bit of lightheartedness that'll come in the game, the cheesiness of the sub-stories. And it's only in Japanese, subtitled, but it is out there. There was also like a prologue to it, kind of like a little, leading up to a short that was made that is also very good. But it really impressed me, kind of restored some faith in video game movies. I mean, my wife, she even came in and started watching it, which is a funny thing about her. She does not play many games, but somehow she really enjoys watching video game movies, whether it's about video games or whether it's based on a game. Usually she will watch it, and she actually really enjoyed Like a Dragon herself. So I mean, that's one. Any y'all that like the Yakuza series, it's trust me, it's definitely the games themselves play out like movies, but it's kind of cool to see it in that form. It's definitely worth a watch, man. I mean, it's just really, really good.
Yeah, I definitely want to check that out. I mean, I know you can watch it. You can watch it in full on YouTube. And if you want to pay for it, you can rent it on PlayStation 4. It's on the PlayStation 4 PSN store, which I thought was really interesting. I was like, wow, it's on the PSN?
It's good they put it. I mean, I guess that with that relation they have, with it being on a Sony system, it's good that they put it out there, because it just be neat. Because like I said, it's not it's only in Japan. Some people could be turned off by, it not being dubbed. But it's just really cool. I remember when I just heard about it, I was like, nah, I got to see this. It's only on DVD. I don't think they made a Blu-ray release. Never made a sequel. It's just that it's standalone film that's kind of floating there back in time from almost, a decade ago. But it's actually, really good. And I think it would surprise a lot of y'all too. If you watch it, you could be like, wow, like these can actually be pretty good. It's amazing.
Yeah, and plus I'm a big Takashi Miike fan. I love a lot of his movies, and he's no type of person who hasn't already dived into Yakuza, like he said. Like, he's made a lot of Yakuza movies, and a really great Takashi Miike movie that I would mention that people should watch is The Great Yokai War. That was a really good one. It's more of a children's movie. Which was kind of crazy, because when I got into Takashi Miike, it was from his horror movies, because he, The Audition, stuff like that was just really out there. And I saw it at Walmart of all places. I saw The Great Yokai War, and it was like by Takashi Miike, and I'm like, oh, okay, I want to check this out. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into, and it's a child movie, and it's in that style like old children movies, where like never-ending story and stuff like that, where it has some kind of semi-scary kind of visuals to it, because it does dive into the yokais, the Japanese demon mythology and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's a good movie. I do recommend The Great Yokai War. My favorite video game movie, though, I would have to say, would be Mortal Kombat. I think that's just a given. A lot of people give it flack because it is cheesy, but taking it for what it is and what it's based off of is probably one of the best video game movies that's been out. It's just really, really good.
Yeah, it really succeeded. And like I said, it's a movie based on a game, so it's going to be, it can't be all super serious. I think what they were dealing with, considering it was a super violent game, and to make it a I don't know if it was PG or PG-13, it definitely wasn't R. But to do that, and when it came out, a lot of us were like, "Oh man, this person should have been cast," or this person. We all had our ideal actors of these certain parts. But at the end, and that would be like my number 2. I can almost always watch Mortal Kombat. It's a great mixture of just your classic, martial art movie, your tournament movie. It's Enter the Dragon, pretty much is what it ends up being, and it turned out, really good. And it's still a classic. The soundtrack, everything, Fear Factory. You had KMFDM, Gravity Kills, a lot of bands like that, more industrial during that time. One of my old favorite bands, Mother's Day Out, it was a bunch of teenagers, and they only put out one album. It's Mother, Muthas, Mother's Day Out. It was named after a daycare in their town. I think they're all from Arkansas. And just a really, man, they were an amazing band. That's still one of my favorite albums. They were actually in the movie playing in the club scene.
Oh, wow.
And they had the fight near the beginning. Yeah, they were actually in it. Like I said, it was that soundtrack, everybody, just loved it. Like good, metal, industrial music, great fights, even the, effects at the time, for the time. Were really good. And I mean, it's still one that holds up. I think it's still a lot of people's, favorite. You can't really argue if someone's like, man, that's the best video game movie. Not many people are going to be like, oh, you're wrong, man. That's not true. Like, no, it really is. And it's kind of sad because that movie was, over 20 something years ago. Yeah. And, we haven't really gotten anything better since then.
now, with that being said, of course, then you had the sequel, which wasn't as good, which brings me to the next question, James. Why do you think that it's so hard to make a video game movie?
I think part of it stems from when we were talking about like the fan films. And when someone does a fan film, they're obviously a fan. These things are done with love. A lot of these guys have, for what they're working with, I don't know what kind of budget they have, but man, they're able to really do some awesome stuff. I mean, they probably couldn't be much longer than what they make them just due to cost. But it's that just total, maybe playing a game your whole life, that true love. They really have heart. To where when you have, a really big budget one, you have executives, you have people that want, well, we want this, we want that. Even sometimes the game companies have certain, stipulations in there. Well, like, this has to be there. And I think it kind of ends up being a lot of infighting and struggling to where sometimes the, true heart of it is kind of lost along the way. And it can really just end up, being a big mess or just being like, complete trash. Mortal Kombat 2 myself, while yes, it is nowhere near as good as the first one, I like it just because it is like extra cheesy.
Yeah, it's very cheesy.
That's something that kind of draws me to that. But we could see from the was it Mortal Kombat? Was that one Mortal Kombat Legacy? There was one that was done that was a whole bunch of shorts that were released together. That was just tremendous. Like if they had put those, and had a full-on movie version of that, I think that's one that actually could surpass the old one. And you think that was just from like, a web series.
Yeah.
But turned out just outstanding.
Well, when you brought in about the industry, about self-afflicting ideas and stuff like that, it really brings back memories of the Super Mario Brothers movie. That's a great example of what went wrong. Super Mario was huge. We were finally getting a movie. I know I was, I think I was like in first grade when it was being announced. I was so excited, and I remember renting the VHS and watching it and being so let down. And the crazy thing is the movie was filmed here in Wilmington where I live at. Matter of fact, one of the doctor's offices that I would go to get my allergy shots, because I had really bad allergies, I would go every 2 weeks. The nurse that worked there, her husband helped design the guns in the Super Mario Brothers movie. It was filmed off of in like a concrete industrial building off of I believe it was Hampstead that they were filming it at, and that that movie, if you guys want to watch a really good documentary of how that movie became what it was and how it ultimately failed, is Gaming Historian made a really good, I think it's like a 35 minute documentary on it. And to me, I think you hit the nail on the head when you say why video game movies don't do that well. Is because you'll get a lot of directors that will be like, semi-fans, or maybe they've never played the game, they play a little bit of it, and they kind of like throw in their own 2 cents and try to throw in their own visions, and sometimes it doesn't work out too well. A great example of that is also the Resident Evil movies. I watched the Resident Evil movies, and for action zombie movies, they're okay, but as Resident Evil, oh my god. Like, the first one wasn't so bad. Second one was okay. They made Nemesis into like a complete bitch in that one. And afterwards, it lost its feel of survival horror, which ironically so did Resident Evil later on, but still, I mean, it just wasn't as good. And like, I talked to some people and they'll be like, yeah, I love Resident Evil, I watched all the movies, and I'm just like, you don't know what Resident Evil is, I'm sorry.
And they do have their fans. I mean, of course, it's been, I don't know, they got 6 movies at least. And for people like me, and, like you hear about, originally, they had George Romero, of course, who did all the Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. Who better to get? And you hear about him, and somehow he did something that just wasn't, they're like, hey, this wasn't really what we're looking for. And we end up getting something completely different. It's just kind of wondering of like what would that have been like. And I know there's versions of the script floating around. I think that's something that really would have followed more along with the game, what a lot of people really wanted. Because the thing is the harshest critics are going to be the fans of the games. Because we grew up with these, we played these, we've invested hours of our lives into these games, and all we want is just a decent 90-minute representation of that, and yet it's still so hard to get. But that one, like you said, it's just, man, it's got so many. Apparently, the chick in it, Mia Jovovich, she was apparently like a big fan of the games and everything, and she's all into it. But they just, I've seen them. Like I said, the first one was all right, and they just definitely just kind of dropped. I've still yet to see the last 2. I might watch them, just one day if I'm bored, but it's like I just don't really care. It's not something I want to go out of my way, to see. No,
but with that being said, there is 2 CGI Resident Evil movies that are actually really good. Like, they're the CG movies. Like, the Degeneration's one that really sticks out of my head.
Yeah, I have one of those, and I've still been meaning to watch that because I know I might have that one. I know there's maybe like Damnation, and I think it's actually like 3.
Yeah.
And those are ones I've been thinking, could really be good. Because sometimes, you go that route, whether it's CGI or animation, and sometimes you can do a lot of things that just sometimes aren't possible or too cost restrictive as far as in a live action movie.
Yeah. I mean, a great example would be like the Castlevania series on Netflix. If that movie wasn't animated, would it have been as good live action? I mean, it could be, but it could have also been very, very cheesy too. So I mean,
there was rumors of that forever, and it's like, somebody's working on it. Why isn't it coming out? And I was almost kind of slightly dreading it. Like, I always, even years ago, I was like, animation is the way to go with Castlevania.
Yeah.
And it ended up happening, and it ended up being very good.
Yep. Also what I was thinking about as well is when you were talking about we just want a game that kind of just shows us what we want, would be like, a great example would be like the Silent Hill movie. Now, the Silent Hill movie, it took elements of Silent Hill and it ran with it, but it wasn't based completely off of Silent Hill. Like, we had the main meat of the story was, Silent Hill 1 with Harry Mason and trying to find his daughter in Silent Hill. That was cool. But then, they replaced Harry with a female lead, and, they added stuff like Pyramid Head, who Pyramid Head shows up in Silent Hill 2. But it worked. It wasn't a terrible movie. Like, some people will say it was, some people are like, oh man, that movie's horrible. I'm like, it wasn't really that bad. The second one was horrible. That one I couldn't even make it past 5 minutes on the second Silent Hill movie. I'm like, no, I can't watch this. But the first one, I mean, I watched it a couple times. I mean, they got the cinematography right. I mean, it looked like Silent Hill. The soundtrack was there. I think even some of the camera angles they used in that movie was the same that they used in the original Silent Hill. So, I mean, like, I think a video game movie doesn't have to copy a video game to the T to be good, but it's got to have a certain amount of respect, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Another one I actually kind of liked, because sometimes, too, you figure, like, the fighting games, you know, a lot of those, of course, spawned out movies. You know, Street Fighter, everybody knows about that. You know, the one series we talked about, the Legacy is the way to go with that, or definitely the animation way. Street Fighter 2, the movie, was excellent. Tekken is one. I really enjoyed the Tekken 1 and 2 movies. The one was a bit better. They had a good, pick of actors. Hiroyuki Tagawa, or Shang Tsung, he played Heihachi in the Tekken series. Yeah.
See, I never watched those. I hadn't seen those. I had to check those out.
Yeah, dude, they're not bad. If you just go in, like I said, it's not the greatest thing in the world. It's got some good fights, pretty interesting story, and I'm a huge Tekken fan, but I could compare that to King of Fighters. Now, King of Fighters had a movie. I saw it was on Netflix one day. I was like, oh, cool. You know, I didn't really know about it, and I was kind of expecting, you know, King of Fighters isn't something you'd picture being a big major motion picture, so like, maybe this will be good. And I mean, it was just the most boring. I think it's probably gonna be one of the most boring video game movies I've just ever seen. I could barely remember any fights, you know, whereas Tekken had more of, you know, what I wanted. Just a whole bunch of fights.
Would you say that was probably the worst video game movie you've watched?
That, you know, just as far as, you know, like I said, we could clown on other ones, but at least that they could be funny and just amusing. King of Fighters would definitely be near the bottom of the barrel for me, just due to the whole boringness of it. Like, something can be bad and funny, it can be bad and still entertaining, so bad it's good.
Yeah, like
there's
the original
lots of ranges of bad.
Yeah, like the original Street Fighter movie. I mean, that movie is not the best movie, but for what it was and for the time, it's one of those movies that people love to hate, but they still like to watch it. You know, like it's so silly. It's got Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's got Gomez. I can't remember his name, but it was his last movie.
Raul Julia.
And Raul Julia, man, like his M. Bison, he poured so much into that character. Like, you could tell everyone else was just kind of like there for the paycheck, but he wasn't, dude. He was straight professional. He played a great M. Bison. And when I think of Street Fighter, probably the worst video game movie is a Street Fighter movie, and that is Street Fighter Legend of Chun-Li. Now, that movie was so horrible. I remember I watched it in theaters with my sister. Me and my sister were hanging out, and I'm like, yeah, you know, let's go see a movie. And we were like going through all the movies, and I saw Street Fighter Legend of Chun-Li, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know this was a thing. Let's go watch this. And we went to go see it. It was like a Lifetime movie meets Street Fighter. It was just so bad. The guy they had to play M. Bison looked nothing like M. Bison. He just went by Bison. The only good thing about that movie was the guy who played Vega, which was one of the members of the Black Eyed Peas. That should tell you something.
Oh, God.
That should really tell you something. I mean, it was so bad. They did have the guy who played Liu Kang in the Mortal Kombat movies. He was in it, and he was the trainer for Chun-Li. And I saw him in there, and I'm like, oh, man, I know that guy. And I'm like, oh, it's Liu Kang from the first Mortal Kombat movie. But
this one, Robin Shao. I would say to him, and actually the Keith Cook, the guy that played not Venom, Reptile. He played Reptile in the movies in the first one, and he was one of the Sub-Zeros in the second one. They're all members of like a stunt crew, and there's a documentary that's actually based on them. It's something about like red shirts. It's red something. Very cool though. But like those two are very good, definitely very good martial artists.
Yeah.
And they're guys I'd like to see in movies a bit more. And speaking of Street Fighter, also some very interesting ones I thought a lot of people have seen about this Jackie Chan movie called City Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
Which actually has a really good TurboGrafx, or I guess it's a PC Engine game. There's a City Hunter game that's actually very fun, but it had a brief Street Fighter inspired scene. And what's funny though is there's another movie by the same director, Wong Jing is his name, but he did another movie called Future Cops. And Future Cops is pretty much a Street Fighter movie. The names are different, like Honda is Toyota, Guile is just called like Broomhead, Sagat is Tai King, and it's these guys kind of going back in time. And there's, you have your Bison, like Ken is a bad guy, but Vega, he's a good guy. It's kind of confusing. It's not really based on a game. They have like hurricane kicks, Chun-Li will do her yatate, she'll do that little pose. It's probably on YouTube. I've seen it on some other like free movie streaming sites, but it's called Future Cops from '93, and it's very fun.
You mentioned it, and I think either I've seen clips of it, or I think I might have watched it a long time ago. Because when you were mentioning it, it was drawing back some memories. I'm like, oh man, I kind of remember this, And
they're at a high school, and there's some girl called like Crab Girl, and it's just
yeah, it is. It's very like bootleg, like Street Fighter movie. Yeah.
Yes.
I do remember seeing this. Now, before we close this segment, I do want to ask you, James, if you could see any movie based off a video game, like what would it be? Like if you had like a director in mind, a vision, what would that be?
I kind of had a thought just during the show of what would be kind of entertaining. I think would be a movie based on Mario Kart. Now, it sounds a little weird, but back in the 70s and 80s, there was lots of these movies like Cannonball Run, Gumball Rally. There's just lots of these race movies. Even I think a while back in the 2000s, they had Rat Race. There was just all these movies with people just racing to get somewhere, sometimes to get a fortune. Somebody's reading a will, and they're all trying to stop each other, which kind of makes me think of Mario Kart anyway. They almost play out like live-action Mario Karts. Now, I wouldn't really want this live action. I think animation would be fine. But I think you could have some really good humor. A lot of the characters who are, never really do anything violent to each other. They're just kind of, impeding them from getting where they're trying to go. And I think I don't really have anything for a director or anything like that, but just that vision of just a Mario Kart movie done in the style of like a Gumball Rally could actually be I could just see it being pretty damn funny,
Yeah. You were mentioning, and I was already thinking of characters in my head. Be like Yoshi would be in the tournament because he's trying to get the reward money to buy like a cake or something like that. So like silly little backstories, like old Toad's in the tournament because he wants to prove that he's like the best loyal subject of Princess Peach, and he stole her car, and she's like joining the race to get her car back. Stuff like that. I mean, I can see that.
Just there's so many options. I think it could just be very humorous. It could be something for like all ages. You could throw in all kinds of little jokes, and it would just be just a damn good movie. It seems kind of unconventional, but I think at the end, like that could actually work.
Now, see the one that I was thinking about, and I was thinking about this during our break, and I'm going the completely different direction. But I would love to see Del Toro direct Clock Tower. Like I was thinking about, dude. Oh man, I was thinking about it. Because he did Pan's Labyrinth, and I'm like, man, that movie was just so visually like weird. And imagine that being in a Clock Tower, like this girl that's like, or even if Del Toro did like Eternal Darkness. Holy shit! Could you imagine how crazy that movie would be?
Yeah, that one really could. But yeah, both those are cool. Like Clock Tower is just, that one's a really good one. Like that one hadn't crossed my mind, and it's so just like creepy anyway. And it's it just gives you that racing heart just from a crappy looking scissor man chasing you.
Yeah.
And if you could translate that to movie form, you know, the right visuals and everything, and just that little bit of weird, awkward dialogue within the game and all, like that one could really work out too. That would be cool.
Even if it was a short movie, you know, it could be like if it was like a little short web movie that Del Toro was like, you know, oh, I was out one week and I decided to get these people together and we did a Clock Tower short. I'd dig it. I would. That's one of those ideas I wouldn't think would be a really long movie to begin with, you know. So
yeah.
But yeah, going into the closing of the show, we're going to get into games we've been playing recently, and I'm going to ask you, James, what have you been playing?
Not a whole lot. I did just recently, I realized a few weeks ago, Pocket Rumble finally came out on the Switch. This is a game was rumored, hell, since I got my Switch last year. I've been hearing about it, and it was it even says, you know, on the description, it's inspired by the Neo Geo Pocket Color fighting games, like Samurai Showdown, King of Fighters, and if any of y'all have ever played those, you might kind of brush it aside, like, yeah, you know, handheld fighting game like that would be crap. I mean, I've played Mortal Kombat on Game Boy, and like, yeah, that's horrible, but they managed to cram so much just fun and character into this small game, and with 2 buttons, that's all you're working with, and yet it works out. It just kind of makes you think, like, man, could we have actually had like a decent fighting game on the NES? Because I got one on this Neo Geo Pocket Color. But Pocket Rumble takes that, it adds so much more. You know, you have kind of your more basic characters that punch and kick. You know, some have weapons. One girl is some type of ghost. She can pull her head off and throw it at you. She has like a chainsaw come out of her body. Just really kind of little just wild characteristics. I picked a guy that wasn't one of the guys near the top. You know, usually the top guys are the main ones. I picked somebody different, and he's one I've actually been really enjoying. And like I said, just for having 2 buttons, my only thing is like I'm probably going to want to play this with my Pro controller, just because you know, playing in handheld mode, I'm not a big fan of using the thumbstick on fighting games.
Yeah,
and,
me
you know,
neither.
The buttons as the D-pad is not really working as good. But I was still winning. I was still having fun, so I imagine it'll just be even better, you know, with like a Pro controller. Even though a game like that I pictured playing, you know, I think of it as a handheld game, but I think it's good enough. You know, you could play on the big screen and still have a blast. It's only $10. You know, I just recommend anybody to either play that or get some emulators of these old Neo Geo Pocket Color fighting games. If you never played them, I think you'll really be surprised at you know, what kind of depth a game like that, you know, can have. Like when you don't have 8 buttons to do all this stuff, you got 2, and it's still just damn good. It's one of the better fighting games I think I've played in a while and I've had, you know, fun with. And then another one I'll just end with is I just saw it on the Switch on the eShop, and it's called Plateau Box, and you're a duck who boxes. So it's kind of a mixture of punch. I mean, it sounds like the ultimate game to me. It's kind of a mixture of Punch Out with a little bit of a, you know, just kind of like an action. You know, you got to wander around. You have some quests, and maybe like an action RPG boxing game kind of. You go around and talk to people. You can just punch random crap. They give you little mini quests like, you know, destroy a bunch of shit in the room, and then you got to take medicine to this guy. You start off as a duck, you're boxing. You know, it's got good Punch-Out mechanics. I like it a little bit better than the actual arcade Punch-Out. Like if you've played Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, it's like you get the grasp of it. You know, it's just low punches, high punches, and you're fighting another character on the opposite side of you. Sometimes they're human. Sometimes I guess maybe they're other ducks that box too. But you get stabbed at the beginning and dragged out. So you kind of have this mystery of trying to find out what happened to you, who stabbed you. But along the way, you know, you'll get in actual boxing matches, and it's really wacky. It's black and white. It reminds me of Mad World.
Oh yeah,
a little bit. It's kind of got that graphic style, all black and white, but it works. And I was playing a little bit before the show, and I had to go ahead and stop because I was like, man, I'm gonna keep playing this. That's one that really just kind of grabbed me, and it was $15, and it's one I was thinking about for a minute, and I was like, dude, this looks like I'm just such a sucker for Punch-Out itself. I love that game, and anytime they make, whether it's other handheld games, any type of modern game that plays in that same style, I just really want to play it because they've somehow really, they haven't managed to replicate that fun to me in any boxing game. But this one is just something, it was different. Like I said, I like that black and white graphic style, and you're a boxing duck. I mean, it's weird, but it works. But yeah, it's called Plateau Box, and I think it just came out, so probably if you wait a week, it'll probably be on sale, because that's what always happens to me when I buy a Switch eShop game. It goes on sale the next week. But Plateau Box, like I said, look at it, and if it's something you think you might like and you're a Punch-Out fan, I think you might kind of find like a rare little just weird game that you really might dig.
Nice. Now, for myself, I've been playing a lot of Octopath. I actually got Octopath Traveler a very weird way. I actually have my live reaction getting the game because I did a Power Level Amy Loot Crate unboxing, which my friend Amanda sent me a box full of stuff, and one of the things she sent me was a Switch case, like for your console and stuff, and it was like a hard case. It was a Mario case. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I already have a case, but I was like, it doesn't hurt to have two. And I'm sitting there looking at it and stuff, and she put the copy of Octopath in the case. Like, she had a note that said, open me, and I opened it up and I look at it, and then it was like kind of hidden behind the game flap that you put all the little games on. It was kind of hidden behind there, and I almost missed it. And I had my reaction on video, and I just pulled that back, and I'm like, whoa, oh my god, I was like so surprised. I've been playing that and really enjoying it. When I have been playing Octopath, though, I've been playing Sonic Mania Plus. That came out last Tuesday. It was like, I already have Sonic Mania, so it was only like $5 for the DLC. I mean, you can buy the physical copy now, and it comes with the DLC for like $30, which is still not a bad price. It comes with a reversible cover to make it look like a Genesis game, and it's really cool. But I was like, I already got the game. I bought the Special Collector's Edition last year. I didn't feel like spending $30, and I'm glad they gave us that choice of just spending $5 to get the extra content. And the extra content, it comes with two new characters, or two throwback characters, and that's Mighty the Armadillo and the squirrel. I'm trying to remember his name. I keep on wanting to call him Spike, but his name is not Spike. I had this out on my phone too.
His name is Nuts.
Yeah, that would make more sense. But no, like his name is. Come on now, I'm trying to figure out got my phone out trying to find it. But yeah, Ray the Squirrel, and Mighty the Armadillo. Now, Mighty the Armadillo...
Yeah, Nuts was a better name.
Yeah, Nuts the Squirrel sounds a lot better. But yeah, like, Mighty the Armadillo was in, Knuckles Chaotix. He was also in the Sonic Fighter in the arcades that never came to consoles until Sonic Gems Collection on the GameCube. And Ray the Squirrel was actually only on a Sonic arcade game that was only released in Japan. That was called Sega Sonic the Hedgehog. And it played a lot like Sonic 3D Blast. Been trying to get a ROM to work on my Pi. I might have to try it out on my PC, because once I heard about it, I'm like, I gotta check this arcade game out. But it's like the DLC, the Sonic Mania Plus, it adds a little bit of special something. I mean, of course, the new characters, they play very different. Mighty the Armadillo has a ground pound that he can do. He plays very similar to Sonic, where Ray the Squirrel plays a lot like Tails, but he has this glide move that's kind of like Mario in Super Mario World. Like, he can sit there and glide and go in and out and hone down and stuff. Some of the stages are a little different. You don't get anything new, like 2 new stages or anything like that. Some of the bosses get changed up. It's pretty much like enhanced. It's not like a redo or anything like that. I think they fixed some of the bosses and stuff, but that's pretty much what I've been doing. I wanted to open up the show talking about this, but I didn't get a chance to talk about it till now. But games we've been playing. I do want to mention my nephew. He's like 6 years old, and he finally got to play Street Fighter 2 for the first time. I was off one day, and he was just about to go back to school. It was like his last week of summer break, and I'm like, hey, you want to play some video games? And I got Street Fighter in, and he started playing. He fell in love with it, so much that I ended up having to buy him Street Fighter 2 on his Wii U, so he would stop bothering me, because he loves Street Fighter so much. He would just like randomly be like, yeah, it'd be really nice if I could play Street Fighter right now. So I was like, I need to buy you the game.
Does he have a particular character he likes to use?
He likes Dazium. He likes him a lot. I think he likes him because he breathes fire and has stretchy arms, and also Blanca.
Yeah, I could picture kids digging characters like that. They definitely have a little bit more character and just kind of the stretchy arms and the electricity. I could see a kid being drawn to that.
A lot more illustrated, which I have to admit, when I was his age and I played Street Fighter 2 the first time, I loved Blanca too, because I was like, man, he's a monster, And plus, his electricity move is so easy to do. You just punch a whole lot.
It's like eating people's faces off and stuff. It's great.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I did film. This is the cool thing about technology, is I got to film a Let's Play of him and I playing Street Fighter 2, like his first time ever playing the game. I have that recorded. I'm going to release that as a video soon. So, I mean, that's kind of cool that, I had this memory with my nephew of playing Street Fighter 2 for the first time and actually seeing him play Street Fighter 2. It's not like, a picture of him playing is like, oh yeah, that's that time he played the video game. I can, go back and relive those moments and be like, oh man, yeah, that's when, he realized that Blanco was a monster and blah, 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 or he actually beat my ass a couple of times. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Kids are like really good button mashers. And there was a part where he was like, because at first I was being kind of soft on him. I mean, he's 6. He's never played it before. I'm not going to do a 28 hit combo on him. I wanted him to like the game, so I'm sitting there letting him punch me around and stuff. And then he was just like, he won. It was like his second round. And he told me something along the lines of like, "Oh, I'm always going to win." So then I beat his ass. And I'm like, yeah, let's drop that ego down, boy. Don't be one of those people.
Gotta put them in place sometimes.
Yeah. Let's keep you humble, man. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. But speaking of fun, this was a really fun episode. I think it was really good.
Yeah.
And
lots of cool movies.
Oh, indeed, guys. And if you're listening and you have a favorite video game movie, be sure to leave a comment. Let us know if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to this on Podomatic or iTunes, be sure to give us a rating. Really helps the show, helps new listeners find our show, because it goes up in the ranks and they're like, hey, this is a good show. Let's push it out there. And, of course, if by some chance you're not watching this on YouTube, youtube.com/Xander Skullion is my YouTube channel. And I got a review coming up soon of a game called Deep Ones, which is a retro-inspired game based off the ZX Spectrum. And it's not a good game. I'll go ahead and say now it's not a good game. It's a $5 game on the eShop.
I think I have that. Yeah, I was like, I'm not sure. I was either looking at that or I might have bought it one time. It was on sale and just never played it.
Jeez, it is not a good game. It's probably...
I've not heard wonderful things about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I know I'm giving it away, talking about it, and some people are like, well, I'm going to watch the review. I tell it how it is. If you want to see me talk... Because I don't normally talk trash a lot about games, but if you want to see me really throw down on a game, check this review out. Matter of fact, there's a part where I talk about the gameplay, and before I even talk about it, I take a shot of Evan Williams just to soften the blow. But I got that. Also, the Power Level Amy unboxing as well, where I got a lot of cool stuff, including Rampage on the Sega Master System. I don't have the Master System anymore, but I got the box and the game, and it looks awesome. So I got it as a display piece, and be sure to check that out. YouTube.com/Xander Skullion. Also, join our community on Facebook.com/group/XSGaming Podcast. You can join our group and interact with our little community and other really talented content creators and podcasters. We got a lot of great people on that show, on that platform. But anyway, guys, I hope you have a great rest of the week. Thank you for listening, and as always, happy gaming.
And I wanted to make a quick correction that House of the Dead might have actually been the worst video game movie I saw, because I almost walked out of the theater. I tried to block it out. I went to the theater and I was debating like leaving, but I just kind of didn't. And I might go back one day just to watch it one more time, maybe. But other than that, stay away from that movie. Check out Like a Dragon, and check out Pocket Rumble and Plateau Box, because they're awesome. And other than that, have a pleasant evening, everybody.